Hi, and welcome to this week's Mortgage Broker broadcast. This week's podcast is going back to a solo episode. I've had quite a few guests on the podcast recently, so I wanted to get those episodes out there. I've got some great guests coming up as well over the next sort of 4, 5, 6 weeks that are already recorded, so I'm looking forward to getting those out there. However, I just wanted to get back to a solo podcast this week just to look at introducers and more specifically estate agency introducers. And yes, I understand there are other business out there, other ways of getting introduced to business as a self-employed mortgage broker. However, I just wanted this podcast to really focus on estate agency introducers and looking at the benefits, the issues, the points I will be looking at, and really mapping out a plan of how to get introduced on board. So, yeah, let's just get into the podcast. You're listening to the Mortgage Broker broadcast with me, Craig Skelton, the podcast which helps mortgage brokers at all stages of their mortgage broking career. Hi, and welcome to this week's Mortgage Broker broadcast. As I said, this week's podcast is all about introducers, estate agency introducers. So the reason why I wanted to pick that up is I wanted to get into a bit more detail about it. So with regards to mortgage brokers, lead generation is obviously key. Lead generation is key to building a successful mortgage broker business, especially when you're starting out becoming a self-employed mortgage broker. If you ask any employed mortgage broker or self-employed mortgage broker, what were the reasons why they didn't go self-employed? What was the worry? What stopped them from going self-employed? Or the ones that have made the leap from employed to self-employed, what was their main concern when they first started out? They will tell you lead generation. And so with regards to lead generation, estate agency can be seen as a quick win and a quick source of leads coming in. And so that will help people taking that leap from being employed to becoming self-employed. So like I say, especially if you've come from a large estate agency, you've been an employed mortgage broker working in a large estate agency, you are used to being fed leads by that estate agency. So it's a natural thing to want to happen. It's easier, it feels comfortable. And a lot of business plans that I see from people when they're first starting out as a self-employed mortgage broker is that they want to be fed by an estate agent. Getting an estate agency on board, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 estate agents on board, is one of the things that they want to do as part of their business plan. And there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely not. Because, like I said, it's easy, it's comfortable, it's what you're used to. It's a quick win to get you leads coming in. However, one thing to be aware of, as well as loads of others, but one thing is that, and I've seen this firsthand, is when you become fed by an estate agent, you tend to lose the focus on your own brand. And that's something that shouldn't happen. It should be really work hand in hand with regards to lead generation. You still need to build a business on your own brand as well as servicing the leads that come from estate agency. So the three things I'm going to look at is, first of all, deciding is estate agency, working with an estate agent right for you as an introducer. Secondly, then, if that's so, then how do you approach that? And then lastly, how do you maintain and build those relationships? So the first thing you've got to consider and really think about is, do you want to work with an estate agent as an introducer? And yes, I get all the benefits, obviously lead generation, income, brand awareness that people don't think about either. If you're working with an estate agent, it will help with your own brand awareness as well. So that is obviously one of the benefits. But I would really sort of think about, why did you become a self-employed mortgage broker in the first place? Was it for the freedom? Was it for the total control? Because working with an estate agency, you're going to lose that aspect, a certain aspect of freedom. You're going to lose a certain aspect of control. So yes, I understand the benefits, lead source, income, and all those sorts of things. However, the drawbacks with that as well are that, do they see that as a partnership? Do they see working with you as a partnership to enhance both businesses, not just theirs and not just yours? The thing is, with a estate agent, when it's sort of seen as a partnership, it can be totally right. It can be worked and you're integral part of their business. it can be right, but then it can also put you out. You lose a certain element of control as well, because if it's not the right estate agent that doesn't share the same values as you, doesn't share and understand how important service is, you can lose control of your business, because you can just be then the very demand, you're very they're responsible, and ultimately that estate agent just sees you as either an employee of that estate agent or just a bolt on, just something that's not really integral as part of their business. And you've got to be prepared for that, especially when you're coming from a corporate estate agency background in mortgage services. You'd be surprised how other estate agents don't see mortgage services as like an integral part of their business, because you've grown up in that world of corporate estate agency, mortgage services, where each work hand in hand, each is as vital as each other. When you start working as an worthy introducer, as an estate agent that's not been educated in that way, there's nothing wrong with that, but they won't see financial services, they won't see you, they won't see mortgage services in the same way that you've been educated. You need to be prepared for that. So don't just go for, yeah, I want to work with an estate agent introducer because that's what I'm used to. You'll be surprised on how much work that will take to build relationships, to maintain those relationships as well. So, like I say, first thing is for you to decide whether working with an estate agency is right for you, and it's your choice. Don't think about what you should be doing. Don't think about what other people tell you. Don't think about seeing the success or the failures of other people. Think about, first of all, is this something you want to build and you want to work on a relationship with one, two, however many estate agency that you want to work with as part of your plan. So the first thing is make that decision whether it's working with an introducer is right for you. Now, if you come to the end of that conclusion and say, yes, it is, well, then we need to look at how we approach that to get an estate agency on board. And so that's the second part, really, is how to approach it. So first part is it right? Do I want to work with one? Second part is then now, okay, well, how do I approach that then? And the key to with the estate agency is like with any relationship, you just don't go straight in calling them, emailing them, messaging them, whatever, sort of saying, I'm a mortgage broker and I want you to refer your business to me, your leads to me, because most of the time, from experience, that won't work. You've got to work on that relationship. You've got to have a plan of attack with regards to which estate agents you work with. So you know you're going to want to work with estate agency, that's fine. It's then now working a plan of attack rather than going straight in and email and messaging. So the first thing I would do is do your research. Go local, absolutely. It helps with going local, first of all, when you're looking to build relationships with your local estate agency. And forget the fact that they might have relationships already. Just park that to one side for a second. Yes, it's slightly different if it's a large corporate, then don't go there. The likes of where you know they've got employed mortgage brokers sat in their branch day in, day out. I wouldn't even look at those. Obviously, don't even look to try and win those businesses. You've got to try and win. You've got to be very persistent. You've got to be very motivated to this. So try and pick the wins that you can actually win rather than the ones you've not got any chance of winning whatsoever. So the first thing I'd say is do your research and go local. So like I say, and stay away from your large corporates. So the first thing you need to do before you approach any introducer, any estate agency, is look at your own social media profiles, look at your own website if you have one, and what does it say about you? What does that look like from an outsider looking in? Do you use the platforms? Does it talk about you and your values? Are you seen on the platforms? Are you seen on the website? Are you seen on your social media profiles? And just think about that from doing a bit of a transparency, looking at yourself, thinking, actually, do I look right on Google? Do I look right on social media? So if you are targeting an introducer, then do I look the part of somebody that they want to be working with? So the first thing to do is don't focus on anybody else, focus on yourself and look at your own social media profiles. So does your social media profile give a true reflection of you? Does it give an honest opinion of you? And can they get to know you and your values from your social media, from your website? Can they know Are your reviews on social media? Do you display your reviews on social media and your website? If you've got one, like I say, can this build up a picture of you to then think about something that this is somebody they may want to work with and somebody that they will trust with their brand and business. And I'll talk about that in a second. So the first thing to do is look at your own social media platforms and look at your website. The second thing then is when they're right and display and gives you a good opinion of you, then connect with them on social media. So target the local estate agents and making sure that you get notifications for every single time they post on their social media. They may not post, but I would say make sure you're up for the notifications so then you can see as soon as they post anything to do with a new house, anything to do with something about the team and things like that as well. So I say make sure you connect with them on social media, follow their social media pages. The chances are, if you follow them, they will follow you back if somebody local. They generally will do that. So, and then the next part is then start to comment on the posts, starting to interact with them. No pitching, no going for the jugular yet in terms of offering your services. Just start to build a relationship with that estate agent, that introducer, to then think, okay, they can see a picture of me, I'm getting a picture of them, because you might decide what they post, you may not want to work with them. So you've got to make sure that you're seeing what they post as well, and is it aligned with what you're offering. One other quick win that mortgage brokers don't think about is that if you've got one of your clients out there viewing, so you've got them in AIP, decision principle, whatever you want to call it, you've got your AIP in their hand and they're out viewing properties. If they like one of those properties that estate agent has got that you're trying to get into, one hint and tip that I would say is, if you've got one of your clients with your decision in principle that they want to view one of their properties or want to get more information or more detail, you speak to the estate agent. That's a great way for you to build a relationship up with that estate agent. You're not going in pitching, you're working with your client, what you would normally do day in, day out, get some feedback on that property or even arrange a viewing for them. So it's okay to do that. And that's how you will build relationships with that estate agent. And you're also building a relationship with your client as well, because you're going above and beyond what any other mortgage broker will do. And the estate agency will see that as well. So they will get to know you. You can have it. It's a way in to have a conversation with that particular introducer, with that particular estate agent. So once they know who you are and your business is, and you've done sort of several days, several weeks, maybe even a month or so of commenting, interaction with them, then that's now time for you to approach them, because they know who you are. One thing I would say with regards to mortgage broking, anything that you're doing with regards to building relationships, you need to lose your fear of rejection, because you're going to get no's. You're going to get, we've already got that sorted. You're going to get, we're already working with somebody, we're happy with that relationship. But if you know that actually you're doing what you do and you know that you can follow that up and you can demonstrate to them that you're different from the mortgage broker they already work with, then making sure you help follow that up with some sort of communication. So be persistent in terms of what you're doing. If you get a no, it's still about building that relationship. So forget the fear of rejection. If they give you a no when you do approach them, still comment, still make sure you're connected, still do all the things that you say you were doing, still call them with a client of yours that's interested in one of their properties, or put the offer forward, all those things that you know that you can do. Make sure you continue to do that to demonstrate, because at some stage in the future, they will look to have another provider with regards to mortgage services. They'll look to have another partner with regard to mortgage services. So you need to be the forefront of their mind. So it's either when they're ready to do it, or you might trigger it thinking, wow, this mortgage broker's doing everything for their clients. I'm getting feedback. I'm doing all those sort of things from this mortgage broker. They're putting offers forward. We need to be working with that mortgage broker. And I know loads of brokers that have got into an introducer by doing that way, by interacting from their client's point of view and not going in on a pitch, by doing and demonstrating exactly what you do for your clients in order to win that business. Because they need to build that trust up with you. They need to understand why you're different to other mortgage brokers, because they need to trust you with their brand. It's a partnership. They're working hard to get new instruction. They're working hard to get new properties, new homes on the market all the time. They need to know that they can work with you and somebody that they know and trust to deliver on that first class service as well. So you need to mirror them in terms of what their values are, what their service levels are, and all those sorts of things. So be mindful about that as well. And if that is not aligned, then maybe it's not going to, one side of the party is going to pull away from that relationship. So it's just important to make sure that you build that trust up and you do what you say you're going to deliver. And so that's the second part of it. And then the last part is, then once you have got that yes, and they want to then look to work with you, the first thing that will happen is they will want to meet up with you. They will want to know who you are. And it's how you deal with that at that point as well. So you've got that daunting situation. You might not be comfortable doing that. You may not have ever done that before in your mortgage broker life. So again, it's making sure you're preparing fully for that meeting. So making sure you're on time, making sure that whether it's on Teams, virtual, or whatever, face to face, and they say they want to meet, you've got to make sure you're prepared to go into that meeting to demonstrate exactly how you're different. But then also as well, they're going to be talking about what commission splits and things like that. So you need to make sure you're prepared to talk about that as well, because obviously it's great they're going to feed you leads. It's great that you're going to get clients. However, they're going to want something in return. Yes, it's about service. They want to know it back in terms of what return they're going to get from you with regards to mortgage referrals. So what does your fee agreement look like? What does your commission splits look like? Are you going to play them on the broker fee? Do you charge a broker fee on those clients? What percentage are you going to give them on procuration fee? What about your protection? Are you going to pay them on that? What about the clawback? What happens with that? So all these sorts of things, you've got to be mindful when you're going into that meeting to make sure you're fully aware, fully prepared, so you can walk away from that meeting and having a yes, and now you're moving forward with regards to that relationship. So make sure you're prepared for that initial meeting. And then it's about how you maintain those relationships as well. One thing that you'll have heard me talking time and time again is over promising, under deliver. So if you're doing that initial meeting, you're not going to build long-term relationships. So make sure you under promise and over deliver with those clients. Make sure that the feedback is proactive, making sure anything that they get sent through to you from a lead point of view takes your number one priority right now while you're building relationships and looking to maintain them. So again, give them feedback that as soon as they send a lead through to you, it should be a positive experience. You should be giving feedback to that negotiator or that branch or that team member as soon as you've got some feedback in terms of how or what, whether that's good or bad or indifferent. It's still giving feedback to that particular negotiator and to that team and how that looks. So, and the thing is, well, they need to see you as the integrated member of the team within the branch. So one thing that I didn't talk about, one thing to be aware of, going back to point one about do you want to work with estate agents, is that they may want you in the branch for 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week. They may want you to do some team training. They may want you to do various things to help you with integration. You got prepared to do that. So if you've come from that world, it's easy to do that. If you're not used to that, then that's a new skill that you've got to learn with regards to training a team of estate agents how to refer leads to you and how to spot those opportunities. So you can be prepared for that as well. But being integrated part of the team and integrated part of the branch, day a week as a minimum, I would say, which will help with build those relationships. Like I say, the other thing is as well, which will help, is diary, having online diary as well with regards to an estate agency. If they've got a lead that comes in, they've sat there with somebody, they want to get somebody booked in. If they've got access to your diary, they can just get them booked and slot them straight in on the day, face to face, if you're there 1 day a week. Or if it's virtual, they can just book something straight in diary. So one thing to win with estate agents is not getting a lead, sending it over via email, you then picking it up later that day, giving them feedback, telling them that you're ringing the client, get them booked in. Streamline your processes, make it work for you, work smarter with these estate agents and get an online diary. And then they can just go, right, yeah, I'm here. They've got a client in front of them. A negotiator can get booked straight in your diary. It's more likely to happen rather than having these chain of events with calls backwards and forwards and stuff like that. And like I said, the big thing for me is you need to be on the front foot with the relationship. Do not ever let it happen where the estate agent is chasing you for feedback on a lead, a client, a sign up, where it's at. That should never happen. You have total transparency and upfront with that estate agent from the start with regards to what's happening and where that client is in the process. So just to recap, first thing is making sure you want to work with estate agents first of all as introducers. Make sure that's clear, your clarity in your head with that. Second one is then, if you do, how to approach that, making sure you're prepared, don't go in for it, the kill straight away, build a relationship with that, and make sure you're persistent, because you're going to get no's. So you got to make sure that once you get the no, what does the future look like? Get a no today. When's the next plan of attack with that particular introducer? And lastly, it's a long-term relationship, so make sure you under promise, over deliver, and when you're going into the meeting first time, to look to win that business with that introducer, make sure you're prepared. What does your commission splits look like? How does that look? And how we do differ with every other mortgage broker that's out there? Okay. Big thing as well. So the main takeaway for me is great to work with estate agents, great to work with the right one. Don't let that be a detriment to your brand. That is key for me. And yeah, that's this week's podcast. Anything you want me to pick up on the podcast, any comments, any thoughts, please leave them in the chat, wherever you watch them, wherever you listen to the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And don't forget, as always, to run your own race. Thank you for listening to the Mortgage Broker Broadcast, the podcast which helps mortgage brokers at all stages of their mortgage broking career. If you have any questions about this podcast or any topics you want us to discuss, or if you're interested in working with me further, then please get in touch.